Hey guys, really quick introduction before we get into this. This is part two of the podcast I did with my grandpa about his nutrition and overall how he's so healthy. This one, just like the other one, is so amazing in my opinion. We get into some amazing stuff. There will be timestamps up eventually, and I also am making a clips channel, Pearson Podcast Clips, and when I upload the first clip, then I'll link the channel in the description. Hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pearson Podcast, episode 32. And I'm back with my amazing grandpa slash boompa, and this is part two of explaining how ding dong healthy he is at 76. Sorry, I forgot your age. 77.
Mm-hmm.
77.
Okay. Yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah, we're just basically ending off where we ended last part, or started where we ended off last podcast. And if you haven't watched the first part, I suggest you do. We get into some really good stuff that episode. But yeah, there's just so much more to say. So is there anything you want to start by saying, or anything that you have in your mind about it?
Yeah, actually, that very first podcast I'm really glad we did it the way we did it, which was, I really didn't try to prepare for it. I figured I'd just let it flow. And you're the person that gives me the inspiration on doing that, because when you give your podcast, I hope the viewer understands just how spontaneous your podcasts are, which means that it's like sitting down with a conversation with someone. They don't have a script. It's not scripted. Sure. It's just, hey, we're just hanging here. Yeah. And maybe we'll just laugh or who knows what we'll do. And so anyway, so we let that unfold. And I loved the way that you were so patient with me and just kind of allowed that to happen. And ever since that, though, that there's been so many ideas, because when you talk about total health, it's pretty hard to just pinpoint one thing. A person has a tendency to think, is it this? Mm-hmm. Is it the food? Is it the exercise? Is it the thoughts you think? Is it the way you sleep at night? Is it the friends you have? Is it where you live? Is it your gene pool, whatever, your genetics or what, and of course the reality of it is it's everything. Yeah. And it's a package, and plus it's lots of information and that was one of the things I remember you mentioned to me, that you love to get your information from podcast. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's something that you have devoted a lot of your time. And why would you say you like the podcast? Because it's easy to listen to, for one, because you can do other stuff and still retain it, and you're listening to people that you actually believe and trust what they're saying is true. It's not like you can look up these articles or something like that, or stuff like that, but you don't know who's writing it. You don't know if these are based off of theories. You don't know. That these people you're watching, depending on what they're talking about, they've actually done it. They're saying this because they've literally done it, and they've failed and succeeded and gone through all the things, and what they're saying, they have no reason to lie to you, so. And yeah, and it's mixed with just, you're learning so many things. You're learning how to conversate as well. It's not just the information they're actually talking about. It's just all around amazing. I love it. I love podcasts. Well, ever since you mentioned that to me, that's been my direction as I've shifted over from Netflix and Hulu and things like that. Well, I'd still enjoy the stuff on there, but gosh, it's like, it's incredible. Actually, matter of fact, I just got through watching a podcast with, have you ever heard of a fellow by the name of Jack Ma? I don't think so, no. It's Jack Ma like first name Jack, last name Ma, M-A.
Mm-hmm.
And he and Elon Musk were in Shanghai in China, and they had this, the two of them sitting in front of an audience, and the audience would have questions for the two of them. And the reason they're both together is that Jack Ma is the magnate billionaire in China who is producing Elon Musk's Tesla cars.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah, really.
He's like worth 40-some billion dollars.
Wow.
You know? And of course, I think at the last count, Elon Musk is worth like 180 billion or something like that, you know, which is so cool because the guy almost went bankrupt.
Yeah.
I mean, recently.
Yeah. And now he's living in a boxable house.
I know. It's like so fun. And it's, you know, I like Netflix, but how can Netflix compare with that? You know,
Exactly.
It's like, dang.
Yeah.
So anyway, these two guys were talking, and I highly recommend you watch that podcast. But all you'd have to do is enter Jack Ma, Elon Musk, Shanghai, and it'll bring up that thing. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that Jack Ma's projection for the future is education's going to change. Just like we were talking about in our last podcast, only I hadn't seen it at that time. And he said the education is going to be all about creativity and constructive stuff. It's going to be about creative, constructive stuff, which is what we were talking about. You find the things that you get excited about in life. Yeah. You find the things that you get excited about in life, and it's a no-brainer. At that point, you just get out of that person's way, and then like let the, you know, it's like planting a seed to a flower. You know, you plant the seed in the soil and you fertilize it and you water it, and then you get back and let everything else happen. And that's the way I think it is with a human being. Is if they're in the right soil, and so to speak, and you just let that develop, you know. Anyway, the way he's projecting the future is that we'll be working 3 days a week, 4 hours a day. So we're working a 12-hour week.
Wow. That is pretty nice.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's like, dang. And it's like, and this is the way he sees it. It's just going to be people doing what they want to do, you know, people having fun in their lives. And a lot of the stuff that I do in my health thing would not be possible unless I took charge of my time.
Oh yeah.
If like you have this dear friend Dallas, Tronsdal. And you guys have this beautiful podcast that you and Dallas and Josiah the three of you do together called The Meat Locker. And I love watching that. You guys are all good friends. You're all 24 years old. Yeah. You all have been together for a long time, and you're all really honest about everything in life. Yeah. It's like brutally honest, you know. And Dallas was talking about how he's working for Amazon, and in a way he kind of likes part of it, and another way he doesn't like part of it. But it's so busy that he can't even stop to go pee. Right. And so he has to pee in a bottle. And so
and that's incredibly common. That's incredibly common. I think it's like all across the board, all the delivery drivers are forced to do that.
To pee in a bottle.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And a lot of people don't realize that. So ever since I watched that and him talking about that, because I order stuff, you know, your grandma and I order stuff from Amazon. Every time I get a chance to review the driver, I always give them the highest possible marks. Yeah. I mean, if they just brought it to our home, knowing that the poor guys had to pee in a bottle, I'm saying, what? Right. And so, man, I'm doing all I can on my part to make sure that and that's what he had mentioned, you know.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, hey,
I never even thought about it.
Yeah, I never did either. It's like you have a tendency, you know, we have a tendency to be real critical of each other. You know, it's like, unfortunately. And so anyway, so it's all of these podcasts and all of this information have changed me so beautifully. But the big part of it is if I didn't have the freedom in my life to do what I want to do when I want to do it, that I don't think I would be very healthy. I don't. I don't see how I could be, because I couldn't do what I know I should do. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so that's a big part of it, is being able to set boundaries. You know, and say, no, this is my time, this is my life, and not just physical freedom. You know, because I think as human beings, our number one thing is we want to be free.
Yeah.
But we're not just physically free, we want to be emotionally free. And by what I mean by emotionally free is having people judge us. Say, why are you doing that? Boy, you loser. Or, you know what I mean? That sort of thing.
Oh,
and that's emotional crap. You know, that just screws it all up. And so I think it's important to give each one of us the opportunity to figure out their own life. You know, you never know who's going to come up with some beautiful thing, and allow each person to be a leader in their own life. You know, I mean, just get back, like your little brother Spencer. He is so strong, 14 years old, and he, no matter what, he's going to do it his way.
Yeah.
A lot of little kids aren't that strong. They just kind of get bullied. Not Spencer, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it really
so
is.
he sets the example, and all of you guys over there. You know, the four. I'm so blessed. I'm so fortunate to have the four of you guys as grandsons. A 24-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 14-year-old. They're all amazing, and you're all different. You're all so different, but you're all so amazing. So anyway, so me having the freedom to be able to do what I want to do, when I want to do, and not just physically, but emotionally. And your grandmother, even though she chooses to do different than I do, she doesn't criticize me and my what I have been known to be this really weird person. What weird thing are you doing now, Don? And by the even though you call me Boompa or Grandpa, my name is Don. Okay, so what weird thing are you doing now, you weirdo, Don? You know, and I've lived with that. I've lived with that kind of criticism all my life. You know, and people saying you're doing this weird stuff, but hey, you know, it's my life. You know, it's my life, and so and it's an exciting life. Ever since I can remember, going all the way back to the very beginning, I have been excited to be here. I've been excited to be here. I looked everywhere I looked, I said, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Really? Cool. I mean, really? I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I'm 77 years old, and I know I've not even hardly scratched the surface.
Right.
You know, there's just so much cool stuff, you know, right?
Oh yeah.
And so and so I would say one of the first things about being healthy is about being excited about being here. Being excited in your life. You know, and if you're having difficulty finding things to be excited about, that just means that you probably haven't developed the ability to be looking for the gold.
Yeah.
Because you got to look for it. That's what makes gold so valuable, is it isn't everywhere. But when you find it, it's like, cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Gold, right?
Yeah.
And with all of the podcasts that I see you produce, am I ever critical of anything you've ever done? Or the Meat Locker, have I ever been critical of anything you've ever done?
No.
Have I ever found fault?
No.
What would be the purpose of that? It wouldn't serve any purpose at all, because each person learns on their own.
Yeah.
What I've found is the most valuable thing I can be, particularly as a 77-year-old, is to be a cheerleader and try to catch people in the act of doing something right and say, way to fucking go. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Way to go, man.
Yeah.
Hoorah.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah, you really are like this. I mean, with you exactly are like what you're saying. I mean, exactly. you're talking the same way you would be talking on a phone call, just me and you. And I think that's something to be said, just because it's like people may, especially nowadays, I don't know if you are aware of this, but like people are so different on camera as they are off camera. And you're exactly the same.
Yeah.
And really that is something, you know, really special, because it's so rare to come by that now. It really is.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to have you as a grandson. It's fun to be a grandfather. It's fun.
Right.
The whole darn thing is amazing. And for a person to wonder, now, why are you so healthy? Well, I'll give you another reason I'm so healthy. I'm going to hang with you as long as I freaking can. In order to do that, I better be taking care of myself.
Right. Yeah.
Because you know what I've learned? The older I get, the potential for it to be better gets better. It gets better and better and better. Because when you're younger, you think, you're 24 years old or whatever. It's harder when you're 24 than when you're 77, because you still got a lot of things to figure out on your own.
Definitely.
Shit, unless I'm not paying attention, I had to be figured a lot of this stuff out. And I have been paying attention, because that's what life does. Life grabs you by the balls, right?
Oh, yeah.
It does. And so you learn usually the hard way. And I've learned so much the hard way. Oh my God, I've learned the hard way. Yeah. And so maybe I didn't learn it the first time. Maybe it took 10 times. Finally getting the message. Hello.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm finally getting it. And so I would feel horrible if I wasn't able to at least share some of the stuff that I've learned. And maybe it might help somebody.
Yeah, right.
I know people don't like to be preached to. I don't like to be preached to. But when I'm watching Joe Rogan or any of these people, I don't feel like they're preaching to me. I feel like they're just sharing an honest thing.
Exactly.
And then I can pull from that whatever I want.
Exactly.
And if I don't like it, hey, not a problem. I'm free. Yeah. I can choose. So basically what we can talk about then are the things that I've found that are really helpful for me to be a really healthy old guy, right?
Yeah.
And one of the first ones is to have the right attitude. And you know, when I was 7 years old, I was born in Los Angeles, California, and we lived real close to Burbank. And my dad decided in 1951. I was born in 44. In 1944. And so in 1951, I was 7 years old. And in 1951, the Soviet Union had just been testing their hydrogen bombs. And we'd been testing our bombs. And it kind of looked like, oh my gosh, are we going to have World War III?
Right.
And if we have World War III, are we right at the end of our thing here? God, we just went through World War II. And it doesn't seem like we learned very well from these things. Now we're angry at somebody else. We were angry at Hitler. Now we're not getting along with somebody else. And they've got these bombs, and the bombs make the World War II look like a slingshot party. Right? I mean, these guys are serious crap. So anyway, we lived in Burbank, really, really close to Lockheed Aircraft Company. And Lockheed Aircraft Company, which is where they were making all the new jets and stuff, right? And my dad decided that if we were to have World War III, probably living across the street from Lockheed might not have been the best geographic place to live.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, that probably would have been one of the first targets, right? Yeah. So he said, why don't we get out of here? So he bought this old, well, it wasn't real old, but he bought like a city bus. And this is 1951. And you know, like we have the buses around here, just the big buses, like school bus, only it was a city bus. And he converted it to a motorhome. Oh, wow. No one had ever done that as far as I know. Really? They had trailers in those days, but they didn't have motorhomes. Wow, and he thought, really, this is my cool dad, right? So he took all the seats out and everything, and then he put a sink in there and a place for a fridge and beds in the back, you know, and all this stuff. And he said, we're going to move up to Washington State. And the reason we're moving to Washington State is that's where his wife, my mom, was born, which is only about 4 miles from where you live right now, right?
Wow.
You knew that. Anyway, so he said, let's move up there because that's a long way away from anything that the Soviet Union would be interested in bombing. And
right.
So anyway, so we did all that. And my little brother Jimmy and me and my mom and dad, and we got in this motorhome and we had this car. And so while one of them was driving the motorhome or the bus converted to a motorhome, the other was driving the car. So we kind of went like a little caravan driving up and in those days, they didn't have a freeway, like an interstate highway. They only had like a 2-lane road. Everywhere they went, they had a 2-lane road.
Wow.
The only reason they had freeways, which happened about that time, was that the president at that time, Dwight David Eisenhower, thought that, gee whiz, if we do have World War III, it'd be nice to have a really nice transportation system in this country where people can get out of the bad places real fast. Because the 2-lane road isn't going to do that.
Right.
A freeway is what they need, a freeway where they can really travel. But anyway,
that's really interesting.
Freeways.
That's really interesting. That was the purpose for.
Isn't that cool?
Wow.
Anyway, so we're traveling up. We got all of our belongings and everything that we owned in this car or this converted bus into a motorhome, and we're driving north to Washington State from Los Angeles, California. And we stopped by this beach, and I'd never been to a beach like that before. And but I'm a 7-year-old kid, and I'm saying, "Yay!" And I'm looking everywhere I look. It's all cool new stuff, and I'm looking through these rocks, and I picked up one of the rocks, and there was a little crab. You know, like in the tide pools that they have up here where we live. Well, this is the very first time I'd ever seen anything like that.
Wow.
But it wasn't one crab, Riley. It was lots of little crabs, and when I picked up the rock, they scattered, you know. And I'm a little 7-year-old kid, and I'm saying, "Cool, I'm going to pick up one of these guys, right?" I mean, it's like a little miniature, you know, when you're a little kid, a little miniature. Anyway, so I finally got a hold of one of these crabs, and it was a crab probably about that big, you know, and pinchers and everything. And I picked it up. And I had to hold it pretty tight in my hand. And when I did, this crab started pinching the palm of my hand right here, right? And he's pinching, and it hurts. But I got my crab, right? So anyway, so I went up to my dad with tears in my eyes, and he says, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I got a crab in my hand." And he hit it out of my hand, right? He hit it out of my hand. And I said, "No, I could have let go of it." And that's when I realized that told me what this life is really all about. It's like a crab pinching the crap out of your hand, but you don't want to let it go.
Wow.
And that's what life is like. It pinches the shit out of you, but you don't want to let it go. And that's what life is about.
Wow.
And so once you understand, be prepared for the ride of your life, man.
Yeah.
Because this life it's going to be a son of a gun, right?
Oh, yeah.
But you don't want to let it go.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to a realistic expectation of what you're going to get out of this.
Well, that's awesome.
So be prepared for fun, man. But it's also going to hurt.
That's awesome. That really
Isn't that great? And that's real.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That actually happened to me, and it changed me that way. And and just because that crab pinched me didn't mean that stopped me from grabbing crabs.
Yeah.
I still think they're cool as heck, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm a little more careful now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was one of that attitude about life, I think really helps me a lot because I don't get distracted by the negative stuff in life at all. Because I know that there's going to be plenty of negative stuff. There's going to be more negative stuff than there is good stuff. So you got to be looking for the good stuff.
Yeah.
just because there's negative stuff doesn't mean life ain't worth living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
I mean, maybe it is to somebody. Pull your own plug.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not up for it, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
As you know, my definition of a badass isn't a person that can hurt other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that can be
yeah.
a coward. I think that can be a coward, the person that hurts other people. I think the definition of the real definition of a badass is a person that can take a lot of crap.
Mm. I agree. Yeah.
You think?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I think a person needs to be able to take it. You need to be able to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I've been trying to figure out this whole business of being healthy, I challenge myself continually to do all sorts of difficult things on the grounds that I would love to live a long time.
Mm-hmm.
My stepfather, Ben, I think you knew some of this. This happened before you were born, but my dad had died many years before. And actually, my dad had actually taken his own life. Life just got too much for him. And hey, and if that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. Not for me. I'm going to stick around. One of the problems I had with suicide, when him taking his own life, it's almost like it devalues life for everybody else.
Right.
It's like when Robin Williams took his own life. You know, Robin Williams took his own life. It kind of throws us all a big curveball. It's like, no, we understand you're depressed, but don't be pulling your own plug. Don't be killing yourself. Don't be hanging yourself. Don't be shooting yourself with a gun. Don't be doing any of that kind of crap. Seek us out and let's talk about it.
Right.
Maybe we can help talk you through this, because mostly life is a lot of crap.
Yeah.
We understand that.
Yeah.
So anyway, my dad had taken his own life. So my mom was a widow, right? She was a widow for quite a few years. And then she was 78 years old. And she went to this senior center, which isn't very far from where I am right now. And she met this guy, Ben, and they really started to like each other, right? So she's 78. He's 88 years old. He's 11 years older than I am right now, Riley.
Right.
He's 88, right? And he meets my mom, and they fall madly teenager in love. I mean, teenager in love, hanky-panky teenager in love. If you can imagine an 88-year-old and a 78-year-old. Right. Passion, man. You know? They're bumping pee-pees here. So anyway, so she calls me up. I'm down in Arizona, and she says, Don, I met this guy, and I really like him a lot. And I said, that's great. And I said, so what's up? And she said, well, I really like to move in with him. What do you think? I said, I think what's the worst that could happen is you might get pregnant, right? I was always teasing my mom that way. But anyway, so they got together, they got married. They were married for 10 years.
Wow, amazing.
He was 88. They were married for 10 years. And I got a chance to have this new dad, because I was 50 something and he was almost 90 at that point. And he was born in 1904. And I was born in 1944. So he was 40 years older than me, right? And I had a chance to talk with him, and he had outlived 2 other wives.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I said, what's the thing that motivates you? And he says, I want to outlive all the assholes. That's what he told me. I want to outlive all, because see, if you're outliving an asshole, then you're winning. And he said, not only that, he says, I knew your dad. He says, I knew your dad.
Wow.
And I never liked him.
Oh, wow.
We called him Humpy Beck. And so here he is. He gets to marry Humpy Beck's wife because he outlived my dad, because my dad wimped out. That's the way he felt. Interesting, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So it takes some serious balls in order to make it through this life. So in order for a person to be healthy, You got to have both.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be saying, oh, that's too hard.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Wine.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people do. You mean I can't have this? I can't do that? I can't want to, baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so my plan in order to be healthy, I realized I want to have it all.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be healthy. Plus, I want to enjoy each and every red hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've done is I've designed a life where I can.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way I eat, for instance. The way I eat is healthy, but it's also fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I've taken a combination to where a person has a tendency to think, are you a health nut? A health nut to them means a person who isn't enjoying eating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to enjoy eating because I'm going to eat at Mickey D's, or I'm going to eat at Popeyes,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm going to have my Little Caesars pizza, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to have all that. And you know, I'd rather live a short life and have fun than live a long life and have that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I don't think that's the choice.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can have it all if you plan it right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you want to succeed at anything, you've got to plan your work, and then you work your plan. And if you do that, then your plan will work.
Mm-hmm.
You plan your work, you work your plan, and your plan will work. And think it out. Decide what it is that you want. And what I wanted, as I told you in the first podcast, is my big thing was I love chocolate chip ice cream and barbecue potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
At least I thought I did.
Right.
And so that was my thing. And I thought, gee whiz, do I want to give that up? Well, what I've learned is you don't have to give that up. And making sure this thing is still working. And every once in a while, the screen will pop up and I'm not sure what's going on. But we're still good, right? It's still recording and all that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. So anyway, this business of having it all, I learned early on that we're supposed to eat vegetables, we're supposed to eat fruit. And people were continually saying, did you eat your vegetables?
Right.
Did you eat your fruit? And you hear people saying that. They know it's important to eat quality food. They know that. And so you hear people preaching about that. And everybody's saying, I know I should be eating my vegetables, but I'm not. I'm not eating my vegetables. Just not. And every once in a while, a person will have a vegetable and they'll say, I've been a good boy today.
Yeah, right.
Or I've been a good girl today. I had my vegetables. See, in my view, that ain't good enough. And I'll tell you what, I'll come back to a story. There's this farmer. And this farmer is a chicken farmer. And he's everything is going great, right? He's got these chickens, he feeds his chickens, they lay the eggs, all that's okay. He hits on hard times. And he doesn't have enough money for all the chicken feed that he really needed to give his chickens. And so he's telling this other farmer, so he said, this is what I did. I put a little sawdust in with the chicken feed. And you know what? The chickens did great. They did fine with a little sawdust in the chicken feed. And the other farmer said, really? And he said, yeah, they did all right. So he said, you know what I did? I thought, well, what the heck? If they're getting by on that, I'll put a little more sawdust into the chicken feed, right? To save money, because I didn't have much money. And they did fine. The chickens thrived on this combination of chicken feed and sawdust, right? And he was telling his farmer friend, he said, you know, I almost got them totally weaned on sawdust, and then they died on me. And you know, that's essentially what people are doing. It's like, you know, it's one thing to have a little bit of sawdust in your diet, so to speak, sawdust, right?
Yeah.
100% sawdust, maybe not so smart.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
And so what I decided was, maybe there is a way for me to get a wholesome, healthy diet that I really like, and still have my sawdust and still have my treats, whatever my treats are in the moment, right? And so anyway, that was the beginning of my journey to try to figure that out. I wanted to figure out, how can I have it all? I want to be healthy. I want to be able to have my treats. I want to feel good. And so what I learned was what I do right now. And so what I did is I kind of printed this out. Would it be okay if I go through this?
Do whatever you want.
I'm gonna go through the way I just start my eating and drinking routine every day. And when I say drinking, I don't mean drinking booze. I'm talking about drinking water and coffee.
Gotcha.
One of the things that I learned on one of the Joe Rogan shows is it was like what do you call it when they pull out just a short portion of a podcast?
A clip.
A clip. Okay, so I was watching a clip of a Joe Rogan show, and it was this fella, Michael Pollan. So anybody wants to pull this up, I recommend it. It's only 9 minutes long, this clip. And it's Michael Pollan, Pollan, and Joe Rogan, and they're talking about coffee. And rather than me going through all that, I recommend who's ever watching that, look that up. And after I watched that clip, I decided coffee is really, really important. In a way that a person doesn't overdo it.
Yeah.
And where people run into problems with, I think, anything, Riley, is when they overdo it.
Yeah.
I think you can pretty much get away with it. It's like overdoing it with the sawdust. If you overdo it with the sawdust, you're gonna die or be real sick, right? But you can have some treats. Throw the treats in there. It's like, with your car, you mostly fill up the gas tank with gasoline. But if you were to put like a cup of water in there, it would still run, wouldn't it? It might cough a little bit or something, but it'd still run.
Yeah.
See, as long as it's mostly gasoline in there, you're going to be fine. Okay, so coming back to this thing about the coffee. So I start every day with 3 2-cup mugs of coffee. So I've got a mug that holds 2 cups of coffee. So I have 3 of those mugs of coffee every morning. And I'm careful when I'm brewing the coffee that I brew it to where there's 1 ounce of coffee grounds for 12 ounces of water.
Gotcha.
And so it's not really strong. But when I have those 3 mugs of coffee, I'm getting a nice caffeine hit. I'm getting a really nice caffeine hit to where it's like joy in my life. It enables me to do the things that I want to do. And then like your grandma and I were talking about last evening, about 5 o'clock at night, man, we're done. We are wiped out. But we've done a lot of stuff. And we would attribute our ability to do that stuff by energizing ourselves with the caffeine. And then when we sleep, the caffeine's all gone, man. We sleep like babies, right?
Yeah.
And then I can't wait to wake up the next morning. I get my coffee jolt and I do it all again. It's awesome.
Right.
And so anyway, so I start my day with that. There's another reason that I brew the coffee that way is I don't think people drink enough water. I think people are a little dehydrated.
Yeah.
And I think that, we're mostly water. As human beings, we're mostly made up of water here. And so in order for us to function properly, we need to be properly hydrated. And so starting the day with what I would call almost coffee tea, almost like coffee tea, only it's delicious though. I've made it for you. What do you think of it, Riley?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the perfect blend. It's not like what people maybe think is watered down. It's not watered down at all. It's just, I can't taste any difference rather than just regular coffee. So I think you have the perfect blend.
Good. Okay. Well, I love it.
I love
and
it too.
So anyway, so everyone has to decide on their own. So you're interested in what I do to be healthy. That's the first thing I do. I start my day with that. And then I won't go into the other part, but I will go in around 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. That's when I break my fast. That's when I break my fast. And that's where the term breakfast comes from. I'm sure you probably already knew that, right?
I did not put that in together. Break fast.
Is that right?
That's
yeah,
funny.
well, that's where the term breakfast comes from. And that's when you break your fast. And you've heard people talking about the benefits of fasting.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Fasting is a really good thing, but most people hardly fast at all because they're always eating. They're always snacking or eating or putting something in there. The advantage of fasting is that it gives your system a break. It gives the system a little bit of a recovery time. I mean, for your stomach to continually be producing stomach acid and continually churning out the thing, and here comes more food, and here comes some more food, and here comes some more food, and it's gee whiz.
And
really?
it's not just food too. A lot of people will say like, oh, well, I haven't had food, but I had this coffee, and the coffee is loaded with creamer. The creamer will break your fast. So technically it's like having a breakfast. But the coffee, just black coffee won't.
Exactly. So a person's wearing their body out. It's like over and over and over. So a fast is a beautiful thing. A lot of people, though, when they think about a fast, they think, oh, dang, I'm going to be hungry.
Right.
I'm going to be hungry. And you know what? That sucks. I hate to be hungry. Yeah. And then when I get real hungry like that, then I get out of control. And at that point, man, I just start eating and eating. And so, and believe me, I know all that crap because I've been through all sorts. We only have a little bit of time here, so we don't have a time to go into all the details. But how much time have we used so far? You have any idea?
Probably about an hour, I would think.
Oh, no kidding. Really?
I have no idea. That was a guess.
Really? Okay, well, that sucks because...
But that's great.
Are we okay?
No, I can literally go for however long. This is great. I can go until it's completely silent.
Until it's... Okay, all right. And if you have to pull out clips of it to make it more watchable, you can do that?
Yeah, and I will, but I don't want you to worry about anything like that because people... this has been great so far, absolutely great.
Good. Well, anyway, so I break my fast about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. I like that time. So all I've had up until that time are just my 3 mugs of coffee. And then, and that's one of the beautiful things about having that coffee first thing is coffee causes a person not to be hungry, actually. Did you know that? If you drink coffee, plain old black coffee, it takes away your desire to eat. It really does. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing that way. But about 9 or 10, I'm starting to feel a little hungry. And so I'll have what you could call this a breakfast, I suppose. And all I have is an apple, like a nice organic apple. Either I'll have a Gala or a Fuji. I like those 2 apples, I do. And then I'll have 3 ounces of raisins.
I have the video for it if you want me to pull that up.
Yeah, if you want, sure.
Yeah, just so
for the apple and the raisins and the. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's just I have it recorded and you can talk over this.
Okay, so there. Okay, so you got a chopped up apple. You got some raisins in there. So 3 ounces of raisins, and you see this little Weight Watcher scale right there. The cool thing about that little Weight Watcher scale, and you can get other scales like this, is it'll zero out after whatever you've got in there. So for instance, if you put a bowl on that scale and hit the on button, then it'll read 0, meaning that you're only weighing whatever you're putting in there. You're not having to, exactly. And so now I'm putting 1.5 ounces of walnuts. So 1.5 ounces of walnuts. And
you've done a lot of different things. Like
I have. Boy, have I ever!
Yeah, So
and now I got 1.5 ounces of almonds.
This is a calculated. Everything is very calculated.
Yeah.
Specific nuts, specific everything.
Exactly, and so that's basically my breakfast right there. Now I'm showing you that cut up like that with the apple, but I don't cut up the apple. I wash the apple and I just take a bite of the apple. And then what I'll do is I'll have like a little bowl with the raisins in it. And then I'll have a little bowl with the combination of the almonds and the walnuts in it. And so I'll take a bite of that apple, and whatever I'm chewing up, and this is a big deal, what I'm getting ready to tell you right this minute, this is super, super, super important. When I eat that apple, I chew it until it's like water in my mouth. I don't wolf any foods down at all. I love to eat. Why would I wolf my food down if I love to eat? Wouldn't I want to take my time and really taste that food? And so besides, we are not birds. We do not have a gizzard. We do not have that ability to wolf food down. And the stomach says, really? I'm just going to eat a big glob of food here, and I've got to figure out with my hydrochloric acid how to break all that down. No wonder people have to take Tums or all these different things for their, because gee whiz, they're not eating the way we're designed to eat. And I'll go in a minute why we're doing that. But the main thing to bear in mind, I take a bite of the apple, I chew it until it's like water, and then I take like a little spoonful of the raisins, just a little spoon, some of those raisins, and then some of the almonds and the walnuts, and I'll chew that until it's like water in my mouth. Okay, and so those are dry things. The raisins are dry, the walnuts and the almonds are dry, and so where is the water coming from? It's coming from saliva. Most people don't get any saliva at all when they eat because there's never a chance for any saliva to be produced. Saliva is a very important part of the digestive process that people aren't taking advantage of. And it's a healthy part of the thing is to be doing things properly.
I never even thought about that.
So anyway, so I'll take maybe as long as an hour to eat that apple. The raisins, the walnuts, and the almonds. An hour.
And it doesn't feel like you're, like a bad thing. It's not a bad thing in your mind. Like maybe people are thinking, okay, well, he's purposely taking an hour. While you're in that hour, it's not like, you're dedicated to this. You're doing whatever, just eating, really enjoying
I'm eating.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm relaxing and eating and I'm being gentle with my body. I'm allowing all these things to just naturally, and I'm sending this beautifully chewed up, like the word is masticated food, and I'm sending that beautiful chewed up food imbued with saliva into my stomach, and my stomach is going like this. It's going, right? Because it's prepared properly for the stomach to now digest it. And it's taken me an hour. And believe me, somewhere along the course of that hour, I'm going to feel very full. I'm going to feel very satisfied. And then when I'm done with that, I'm done. I don't feel the least bit interested in food anymore for quite a while. Okay. And then, and so I'm eating that anywhere between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I don't eat again until from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. Now, I almost always eat at 2 o'clock. And the reason I eat at 2 is I'm a busy guy and I got a lot of different things going on. And so, like, for instance, one of the things I do is I entertain for care facilities all around where we live here. So I'm an entertainer, and to where I sing and I dance. And that's another part of the health thing that I do. But because I sing and I dance, I tell all the places where I sing and I dance that I am not available between 2 and 4. 2 and 4 is the time that I allocate for you could call my lunch or my dinner combination meal, because I only eat 2 meals a day. I have my breakfast at 9 or 10, and then I have my lunch dinner, at 2 o'clock. And the lunch dinner, I take maybe an hour and a half to eat that. And it's a wonderful, relaxing, enjoyable thing. And if I was working for Amazon as a delivery driver, I couldn't even have my breakfast.
Right.
I couldn't even go pee.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm not sure what people are doing, and they're busy. We're allowing you 15 minutes for lunch, or we're allowing you half an hour for lunch. It's like, what?
Yeah.
That wouldn't work. I would only work for that place for one day, and that wouldn't work. So I'd have to, you'd have to figure out a different strategy, because I have to be in control of my own life. I have to be control over how I'm living my life 100%, where I'm not giving up my freedom at all to anybody else to tell me what I can do and when I can do it.
Yeah.
That's totally not going to work. That's not satisfactory for me. And so I would rather live under a bridge and be able to do that. I'd have to, because freedom is everything to me.
Yeah, me too.
Everything to me. So for my lunch, or whatever you want to call it, this is where the vegetables come in. And this has taken me so many years to figure out. I have a really good friend that she and her husband, her name is Tylene, and she introduced me to something maybe 20 years ago, a really powerful thing, and it's called enzyme nutrition. And enzyme nutrition talks about the fact that vegetables and fruit are loaded with enzymes. And enzymes are wonderful properties that help our bodies digest food. Now, the only way we can get enzymes is if something is in its natural uncooked state. As soon as you cook something, all or most of all of the enzymes are lost. They're all gone, which means that in order for the body to be able to digest those items, the body has to produce its own enzymes. Well, the body only has so many enzymes, it turns out. And so if we can get our enzymes from what we're eating, instead of having to produce the enzymes, we're going to be a lot gentler, a lot easier on our bodies. We're not draining our body of its natural enzymes. Does that make any sense?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a fact. All of the data and all that's been done. It's probably done before I was born. All of that's very easily attainable. If you want to research it, find out. But the reality of it is the best way for us to be getting our food is to be getting nice, fresh, uncooked food. It's just natural. Besides, when you eat fresh, uncooked food, it tastes a lot better. It's sweeter. It has better flavor.
Yeah, I agree.
The difference between eating an overcooked bean, like a green bean, or a nice green bean that just you guys pick on your where your mom grows those beans over there in your own little garden over there.
Yeah.
They're delicious.
Oh yeah.
They're crunchy and sweet. And if you were to cook one of those guys, is it compare?
No, I mean you add salt, you add garlic, oil, all this stuff to make it good. But like you said, the best in my opinion is just natural.
Okay, now here's the problem. The problem with eating raw vegetables, and this was something that I struggled with, is very hard on my teeth. Very hard. My dentist told me, he says, you're going to wear your teeth out. And I said, I know, but I want to eat the raw. I want to get the raw fresh, right?
Yeah.
I stumbled upon the answer, right? I stumbled upon the answer. And the answer is simply this. I only eat vegetables that have been previously frozen. Guess what? The grocery stores have these big bags of frozen vegetables.
Right.
And they're already picked at the peak of their ripeness, right?
Yeah.
And they're quickly blanched. And the blanched is this quick hot bath thing. And then they're frozen. And they're maintaining almost all of their enzymes.
Right.
But the beautiful thing about freezing vegetables is vegetables are made out of cellulose. And when you freeze cellulose, it breaks the cellulose walls to where it's incredibly easy to chew. Amazingly easy to chew. I did not know that. but this is one of those lucky things that just came along.
Right.
And so I've been doing that for a long time now, to where I just buy a bag of and these are the things that make up my lunch dinner thing. Starting off, I got, and you want to show the video of this?
Yeah, I got the video right here.
Okay. Okay, there's the broccoli florets. There's the chicken. There's the pepitas. There's the sunflower seeds. And there's the frozen mixed vegetables.
So you got 8 ounces of that.
So we got the 8 ounces of the frozen mixed vegetables. We got 8 ounces of the broccoli florets for a total of 1 pound. Okay. 8 plus 8, that's 16. That's 1 pound.
Perfect. And you're good at it. You get it pretty dang spot on.
I've been doing it for so long, and I go for 1.5 ounces of roasted pepitas. And pepitas are pumpkin seeds, and pumpkin seeds are loaded with a lot of goodies, including vitamin K, which is hard to get. And then and that's 1.5 ounces of pepitas. And then I do 1.5 ounces of roasted sunflower seeds. And they can have salt or no salt, doesn't matter, because I'm going to add salt anyway. So you can, it's easier to find them unsalted, but they need to be both roasted. And the reason I use roasted, see, that's sea salt. I'm putting sea salt on there. And that is it. Okay. And so, and then what I do is I cover that. Oh, and then the next thing I do is I'll have like a potato that I microwave. And I love about a pound, a nice big pound of microwave. That's a russet potato right there. But what I found lately is I'll use like a russet potato, a nice big beautiful hand-picked one that doesn't have shovel cuts on it. I don't like a potato with shovel cuts on it because there could be dirt and crap in there.
What are shovel cuts?
Shovel cuts is when they dig
literally.
it up. It's literally a cut
shovel
made by a shovel.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and you can imagine if you get a shovel going into the potato, it can take dirt and crap in there, right?
For sure.
So I hand pick them to make sure I get a nice one. And they can be organic or not. I don't think the organic part of it isn't that important for me, and I'll explain a little later. But the reality of it is I like those microwave potatoes, and I'd like about a pound. About 16 ounces of potato until it's just beautifully, perfectly cooked. And then what I'll do is I'll put like maybe a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half or 2 tablespoons of butter on top of that, and then sprinkle some sea salt over that. And you can salt it pretty good. Okay, salt is a good thing. I think just salt it to taste, whatever. And then the other thing that I'm showing here is with the chicken, is I love baked chicken. I tell you, one of the things that I really love about everything that I do with my food is it's so easy.
Right.
It's easy. It's like I've had people tell me, they said, well, you know what, Don? I could do real well if someone prepared all my food for me.
Right.
If I had my own personal chef, then I know I would be a good girl or I'd be a good boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, well, the way I do it, you don't need a personal chef. You just don't. This is something that you could do so easy. I do it so easily. The whole process takes me maybe 5 minutes or something like that. And if I lived by myself, I wouldn't need a dishwasher. I'd only got like about 6 plates or something like that. That's all I ever use. And so as much as I enjoy food, and I enjoy food, I love to eat. I do. And all these things that I prepare, they're yummy, man. They are delicious. They are yummy. But there's another thing that's going on. And this is something worth talking about real briefly here. There is a thing, and you can Google this if you like. This isn't information that the industry wants you to know, but because of Google and all this unlimited information, it's out there if you're willing to look for it. And that is that when we have refined sugar, and the refined sugar works its way eventually into our gut it changes our microbiome. You know what a microbiome is?
I believe so, yeah.
Well, how would you describe a microbiome?
The things that are going on inside of your stomach. That's literally all I know.
Okay, that's okay.
That's why I take probiotics and everything like that.
That's a real good description. The things that are going on inside your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what it is there's microscopic organisms that live in our gut. Okay, there's microscopic, and there are essentially billions and billions of these guys that are going in there, and those are the things that are breaking down the food. Okay, those are the things that break down the food. And depending on what we eat will determine the kind of microorganisms that live in our large intestine. Okay. And so when a person eats refined sugar, it changes the microbiome. It changes it to where the microbiome actually has a life of its own. And the microbiome says, ooh, sugar. Yeah. I want more. I want more. Now, one of the amazing things about the human body is its ability to adapt.
Right.
We can adapt to all kinds of circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
Some things cause a real quick adaptation. Like, for instance, methamphetamine is a really, really powerful drug where the body can adapt to it. Just boom. Or crack cocaine is another one. Crack cocaine, the body says, woo, I like it. And so it wants more. Sugar is almost in that same category, to where the body gets refined sugar. Because refined sugar only exists in one other place in nature. And that's with honey.
Wow. Beehives
are highly guarded by a bunch of bees that'll sting the crap out of you if you start to screw with their honey.
Right.
So it isn't something that's really easily attainable. And beehives aren't everywhere anyway. So prior to honey, that was it. I mean, that was it.
Wow.
And then we figured out, because of our cleverness as human beings, how to take and extract refined sugar out of beets, corn, sugar cane, to where we can essentially create a drug out of something that exists in nature. Like, I'm sure if we wanted to, and you've seen us do this with like dehydrated strawberries. You've had some of Grandma's dehydrated strawberries? Yeah. It's like refined sugar. And all you guys say, I like that. Right? It's what it does is it tweaks this natural food in a way that's not intended to be. And it's important just to recognize that. Yeah. Recognize the fact that we're screwing with the foods, and in the process of us doing that, we're screwing with the organism here, the human being. Yeah. We're fiddling around with something. There is a thing a person can have when they have too much sugar. It's called Candida. Candida is this organism that can live in your gut. And if a person is craving sweet, chances are really good they have Candida. And
I've never heard of that.
So how do you get rid of Candida? Guess how? You have this thing that we just got through talking about, the mixed vegetables and the broccoli and the potato and all of that. And all of that will push out this undesirable microbiome that exists in a person's large intestine, and replace it with all the beautiful ingredients to where the right kind of a biome can start to take root and develop and flourish in there. Because the microbiome it's like a living thing. And so it has to have the right soil, so to speak, to grow. And sugar isn't the right soil. Refined flour is almost like sugar. All these refined things, like pizza is almost always made out of refined flour, and refined flour is right in almost the same category as sugar. Wow. The reason people don't know how to chew their food. And we talked about this briefly the other day. You don't need to chew your food if you're eating a refined diet. Most of the food that you get at Mickey D's will dissolve in your mouth.
It's very true.
Chips dissolve in your mouth. All of this stuff dissolves in your mouth. And so people, you know, it's one thing to say, I think it's important that you have vegetables. It's another thing to learn how to eat vegetables.
It's very
People
true.
don't know how to chew the food.
Right. Yeah.
Why don't they know how to chew the food? They don't have to chew the food. You're 24 years old. In your lifetime, the amount of times that you've had to sit down and chew vegetables is probably what, 5% of your diet?
Yeah, probably.
When I was growing up, there were no fast food joints. There was no Mickey D's. There was no pizza. Actually, there was, when I was a teenager, there was this department store. It was like a 5 and 10 cent store. That's what we used to call them. And they had this pizza, and you could buy only a slice of pizza, like just a little slice of pizza pie. And I think it was like 50 cents, and it was a treat. It was like getting a candy bar, because you'd get this slice of pizza, and of course it was yummy. It was actually amazing, right? But it was just a slice, and that was it. The rest of your diet was probably something a lot more wholesome. And the farther back a person goes in the history of, let's say, the United States, the more natural, the more wholesome, the more real these foods would be. And the closer you've come, like in your time, you were born in 1996. Okay, 1996, fast food joints were firmly established to where you guys would have like a pizza night. I remember on Tuesday nights, that's just a part of your thing. Yeah. That was a part of your growing up thing. And it was just, everybody did that. Everybody's doing that. And they're trying to figure out, why isn't it working? The pizza could be maybe what, 10% of your diet. Like for instance, coming back to, you saw me having the chicken there, the baked chicken there. Okay. You could either use your, like I'll have either from 3 to 8 ounces of baked chicken with that meal, but you could replace that 3 to 8 ounces of the chicken with a hamburger or half a hamburger. Or like your grandma was talking this morning, usually all I want's a bite. Right. Particularly if you're full with eating all the really good food, and you just had a nice, you could have a bite of anything. You know, like we were talking about, if mostly what you have in your tank of your car is gasoline, you can have a little bit of water to go along with that. Yeah. Okay, now, how long have we been going now, Riley?
I can't tell, but
are we okay? I don't want to.
We're great.
Are we really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, and yeah, that's important that you say that, because it's like that specific diet will make it to where you almost don't want to eat other stuff. And you know, with just that lunch/dinner you have, I mean, that's like 2.2 pounds, not including the chicken. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of food right there. So the extra bit will just, and that's just your, you know, lunch/dinner. You have the breakfast, and so it's like, it's almost like at that point you're usually after your breakfast, later on you're starving. After your lunch, later on you're starving again for dinner. But with this one, it's like you're replenished, and at no point are you really like completely starving. That I feel like is most people are pretty accustomed to feeling at some point in their day.
An hour and a half to eat that lunch, dinner meal, whatever you want to call it, the vegetable meal. Let's say if I start eating that, let's say 2:30, I'm done by 4 o'clock, right? And I'm just taking my time. I'm enjoying it, chewing my food until it's like water, all that stuff, right? I'm done at 4 o'clock. I don't eat again until 9 or 10 o'clock the next morning.
Right.
So if I'm eating at 9 o'clock the next morning, that means that I have been fasting from 4 in the afternoon until 9, which 12 and 5 is that 17 hours.
Wow.
17 hours of a fast. Is that correct?
I believe so.
I thought, just to make sure, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
So 4 to 9.
Exactly. Yeah. So you got from 4 in the afternoon to 4 in the morning, that's 12 hours. And then 9, that would be 5 more. So that would be 17, or if it's 10, 18 hours of a fast.
Yeah.
So you're really giving your body a rest to recuperate.
Yeah.
You're giving your stomach an opportunity to recuperate, to produce more hydrochloric acid, which is what it does. You know, you can digest metal in your stomach from the hydrochloric acid. You knew that, I'm sure. And so we're allowing the body to rebuild. Okay. All right. So anyway, now this whole business of blocking out the time is so important. It's like to do the things that a person really knows they should do and really want to do. It's one thing to know you should do something. It's another thing to where you really want to do the thing you know you should do.
Yeah, for sure.
And what motivates a person to do the things that they should do? And I can tell you real simply, it's because you feel so good. You feel so good in the process. It's like most folks are eating not to feel good, but to taste good. They want that quick little taste thing going on, which might last 5 or 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
So let's say if they get 5 or 10 minute hit from the taste thing or whatever they're eating, this amazing cocaine-like, crack cocaine-like thing that they got going on with the taste, and then they feel like crap. And then they say things like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? I keep making the same damn. I remember there was a time we were trying to figure out if there was a way to taste the thing without paying the price for eating something crappy. So we thought, hey, I know. And I think it was your mother that experimented with this. And this was, she'd chew real crappy food, whatever it would be, you know, something like a dessert thing or whatever. And then she'd spit it out in the sink.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people do that.
And it wasn't satisfying at all.
Yeah, for sure.
It was not satisfying at all. There wasn't anything good about that. Because a big part of the thing is having the food actually go down your throat, go down and feel that nice fullness of the whole thing. It's an important part of the eating experience to swallow the food and not spit it out. If we wouldn't be alive as human beings if that's what our ancestors did. If they chewed and spit out their food, they would have all died.
Yeah, and a lot of people go to the next step where they'll swallow it and then throw it up later.
And exactly. And that's how you lose some of these really wonderful people in our lives. They're just struggling with this whole business of the taste. And the marvelous thing about this eating program that I'm on, I hate to call it a diet. I hate to call it a diet because a diet has such a negative feel just to the word, right? This isn't a diet. This is a beautiful, wonderful, exciting way of life. It's a way of living life. And one of the beautiful things about this is, since it's in the process of re-establishing your microbiome, where you're getting the right kind of a biome instead of the sugar biome in there, is that you'll lose the craving altogether. I don't crave anything. I don't. Every once in a while, I'll treat myself, like when we go over to your guys' house and just to hang out with you guys and whatever. And your mom always has the freezer stocked up with a lot of different kinds of ice cream. Ice cream for me is fun. But I only do that when I go over to your guys' house. I'll say, you know what, I'm going to have some ice cream, but that's all I'll have is just some ice cream. I'm just treating myself to do that. And so I'll have, one of my favorites is mint chocolate chip. I I just love ice cream.
Yeah.
I don't care what kind. And then I'll do it
Mhm.
all. I eat the ice cream. And one of the things I've learned, because that's like water in my gas tank.
Mm.
Mostly I have fuel in my gas tank, and that's
Yeah.
just a little bit of water, but it's a fun little treat for myself.
Yeah.
I have no craving for it at all after that,
Mm.
because I don't have the sugar microbiome going on in
Right.
my gut.
Mhm.
Whereas in the past, when I had the wrong thing going on the wrong thing going on to where I had the craving, if I had the ice cream, then I'd go ballistic.
Mhm.
I go off the charts. I would, I can't have enough. It's
Mhm.
like, I don't know if you've ever seen someone where you look under the seat of their car and there's empty donut boxes
Mhm.
under the seat of their car,
Mm.
because when they're off all by themselves, they'll pull into a Krispy Kreme or something like that,
Right.
and they'll load up with Little Debbie this
Mhm.
or whatever the heck, Hostess things,
Mhm.
and when they're all by themselves, they're just macking out on all this crap.
Mhm.
And then they feel horrible about themselves for doing it.
Mhm.
But they're not to be blamed for that, because what they're not realizing is the craving that they feel is all happening inside their microbiome. And the microbiome is calling all the shots. The
Mhm.
microbiome is saying, I want that.
Mhm.
And it's such a powerful, it's like why these people hooked on different drugs have to go to a rehab center to detoxify,
Yeah.
to get all that out of their system. And accepting in our society, a person that eats fast food or sugary food or crappy food isn't looked at as a druggie.
Mhm.
They're just looked at as a normal member of our society.
Yeah, it's so true.
And that's another big problem, is if
Mhm.
you live in a society of foodholics,
Mhm.
then that just makes your life really challenging, because that means all the examples that are being set by your friends, people you don't know, the media, everywhere, is all the wrong stuff.
Mhm.
You're continually being given the horrible examples on what to do. And that's where it's really important for a person to consider being a leader
Mhm.
and being comfortable with being a loner, being comfortable with being your own cheerleader,
Mhm.
being comfortable with saying, no, these are my boundaries. This is what I'm going to do. I appreciate the variety that exists in the world, but I'm going to make the best possible choices that I can make.
Right.
I just am. This is me. This is my body. I want to outlive all the assholes. How can I outlive all the assholes if I die of diabetes or high blood pressure or high cholesterol or obesity or any number of things? I can't outlive all the assholes.
Yeah.
And marry their widows.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, life is pinching the shit out of my hand, and I don't want to let it go. I did make a few little notes, but we've covered a lot of good stuff today. There's undoubtedly, we could come up with, other things to talk about. But I think we've covered it pretty well.
Yeah,
I could talk about, like, for instance, on Joe Rogan, I found various inspiring things, like Wim Hof, the fellow that proposes that there are 3 really important things for long health, and I love his thing. One is ice cold showers. One is taking lots of push-ups, good breathing, and all because I saw that on Joe Rogan many months ago. Now I do every 3 days, I do like 100 push-ups and 100 full push-ups, 3 sets of 20. I do ice cold showers, and I'll do more than one a day. Another thing to mention, I think this is really important. Most people have some form of elimination problem. Most people have usually some kind of hemorrhoids thing going on with their elimination.
Oh, gotcha.
And their elimination is pretty lousy. I remember one time hearing a little boy, and the words coming out of the bathroom was that my poop has horns.
Yeah, that was me.
Was that you? Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say it was you. I was going to leave it up to you to say.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing, boom, pa, my poop has horns. And I was thinking, fuck, here he is. He's what, 5 years old?
Yeah.
And he's dealing with constipation at 5.
Yeah.
And I'm saying,
It's
no,
crazy.
what in the world, right?
Yeah.
And you've got a body that's young and rocking and rolling. So you can imagine if you've got constipation when you're 5, how about when you're 55?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And so if I could show you a photograph of my anus, which I'm never going to do, by the way, but if I could, it would look like a baby's. It would look like a baby's anus, man. It's beautiful. And I'm a 77-year-old fart, right? And mine is just perfect. And I'll tell you why. It's because of what I eat, man. And I only eat. I only poop when my body says I gotta poop and I gotta poop now.
Right.
So I don't go when I kind of have to go. I go when I have to go.
Yeah.
And then I use this wonderful thing that I bought on Amazon called Step and Go. And you call it.
Yeah. Also a name for it is the squatty potty.
Squatty potty.
Yeah.
And all it is this thing to where it brings up your feet to where your feet are up here like this. And when you go, you're in the right configuration to poop beautifully. Yeah. Because for what, thousands of years we were pooping by squatting on the ground. We didn't have toilets. Now we have toilets. It kind of throws the whole thing off. And that's one of the big reasons I think a person gets hemorrhoids is restraining. And my whole poop thing might last at the most maybe 10 seconds, 10, 15 seconds possibly. And then I'm done. Then I'm clean as a whistle. Yeah. And so there's no straining, there's no hemorrhoids. And then another thing I was going to mention is particularly with people that have a sugar microbiome, there's a lot of acidity in that. And so after you go poop, it's very normal for your anus to itch because there's so much acidity in the microbiome that's been using the sugar thing. And so it's important to clean yourself really good. Oh yeah. And for a person, if you need to take a shower or wash yourself off beautifully. And so until your microbiome gets reestablished in the right way, that's something to consider. And the whole idea is being, and there's a lot of other good things by not having sugar. Oh yeah. Or very little sugar, your teeth won't get caries. And because sugar is really hard on your dental work. Yeah, and all and so there's just so many advantages to this. And we've talked, unless you could think of, let me just see if I do have a couple. Let's see here. I only have sugary treats. Sugary treats, sugary treats. I try to get those as often as I can, but no, the sugary treats. I don't have any sugary treats, and just on rare occasions. So sugar isn't something that I would recommend that a person incorporate in their diet at all, because when you do, you're running the risk of screwing up your microbiome. But when you do, just do it once in a while. And then I'll have water throughout the day, a little bit of water. You can overdo it with water. One of the things they say is I think your dad was telling me, since he's so educated in this whole business of physical fitness, he says very, very hard for a person my age to put on muscle mass. And eating what I eat, I have no problem putting on muscle mass. I do really well. I can do I was saying, I do the push-ups. I can do 2 sets of 5 pull-ups, chin-ups. And then this morning, I did 10 pull-ups. So I did 5 and 5 and 10 pull-ups, which is not bad for an old guy, right?
It's not bad for anybody, any age.
And so it's fun. It's fun to look like a man, and it's fun to have girls say, "Ooh,
oh yeah,
that's a nice thing." Nothing wrong with that. It's particularly be 7 years old,
right?
and for them to think they're safe because I'm an old guy.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I think that if anybody does this, man, they're going to be ripped and they're going to look like they're ripped, which is a good thing. And if you like, we can post this deal with the food and the drink. If you think that would be a good thing, we could post it on this when you get done. I think you've got one. I texted it to you.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I can put it in it'll be in the description for people listening.
Okay. And unless you could think of anything more, gosh, we've covered a lot of territory.
Yeah, we really have. Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we did really cover it. I think an important thing just to highlight is because everybody I feel like knows what they should do. Yeah, I should work out. Yeah, I should eat well, like you mentioned. But the whole thing is just, I feel like you really just have to, grind it out for a couple weeks or whatever until it becomes a habit, until your your microbiome is not craving that bad food anymore, until you really realize, oh well, shoot, I feel amazing after I work out. I feel amazing after I eat these healthy meals. I don't feel starved. I'm not starving at any point. I feel replenished fully, and replenished, filled with premium gas. And I think, because that's just important to me, at least, because that's where I am right now. I know what I need to do. It's just I'm still in my previous habits of eating, bad stuff and just relaxing instead of working out and stuff like that. So I feel like, this is my opinion and what I think you just have to do it for as long as it takes to make a habit, and then you will probably never look back, because you realize of how the benefits, it literally benefits your entire life, your mental, your physical. You are more productive, more energy, like everything. This will literally make your life so much better in every way. But you just have to go with through that first initial kind of clunky beginning where you are fighting with your previous habits and stuff like that. That's what I believe, at least. What do you think about that?
I think that's perfect. And the only thing I would mention in addition to that is to be easy on yourself and realize that changes aren't made usually overnight. This is something that I've been dealing with, all my life.
Yeah.
And I had so much conflicting information that I didn't know. And so the way this program is laid out right here, is this the end all? Is this the final word on all of it? I don't think it is, but I think that this is probably 90%. Yeah, and maybe someone, if someone comes up with something they like even better, share it. By all means, share it. Come up with, experiment, try these things. How are you sleeping at night? How is your energy? Are you like, I'm a 77-year-old guy. I have a really wonderful libido. That's a good metric on how healthy a person is.
True.
Is if you are interested in sex at all. And this whole business of chewing your food and taking your time with the food, that spins off into taking your time with everything, including sex. It's like the girls will appreciate it. Because I think a lot of times they get together with a guy and they're saying, really?
Yeah.
That's it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So take your time in life, and then try some of the, like we've talked about, try some of the different Eastern practices like Tai Chi and yoga and Taekwondo or karate or whatever, try all these different kinds of things and become your own cheerleader and become and become a leader in your life. And don't worry about what other people are doing. And realize that mostly you got to find the gold. Mostly it's not gold. Don't be disappointed if it's not all gold, because it's mostly, that's what makes the gold valuable. So this could be gold for a person. This could be, and the Greek word for wellness is euphoria. And so you can get euphoria here to where you're feeling amazing all the time.
Right.
All the time. And then you sleep well at night. So I love you all. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next Monday.